Hello and welcome to today's class. I have a lovely short sequence that is all about opening up our hips, getting into a bit of hip mobility. So when you're ready, we're going to start lying down on our backs. So when you get down to your back, get comfy, and we'll just take a few deep breaths in here together to arrive on our mats, arrive in this moment. Feel your body grounding down into the mat, into the earth. Start to bring your awareness to your hips, relaxing them down into your mat. On an inhale, we're going to bend the knees, bringing the soles of the feet to the mat. And we're going to start by doing some pelvic tilts. So think about your pelvis tilting when we're in cat-cow. We're doing that, but basically lying on our backs instead of being on our hands and knees. So we're going to arch our back so our pelvis tilts. We get a bit of a gap in between our back and the mat. Inhale. And then exhale, tucking the tailbone under to round the lower back. Inhale to arch the back. Exhale to round the back. Should get a bit of a massage on the lower back and the top of the glutes as well. Should feel nice over your sacroiliac joints. And just keep going, moving with your breath. Lovely. Coming back to a neutral spine. So your back is flat against the mat. We're going to lengthen our right leg out along the floor and lift our left leg up. Knees bent, fingertips interlace over the shin, and we're just going to start to do some circles with the leg. You can hold on to any part of the knee or the leg that makes this a little bit easier. Try and take it a little bit slower so that you can really feel into the hip. Feel any clunky bits, feel any maybe slightly tweakier bits, tighter bits. And just notice. You don't have to do anything about it, just notice, oh, that's a little bit funky over there. Okay, and then circling the other way. Keep breathing deeply into your belly and breathing down into the hip. Bringing the knee back in towards the center, we're going to bend the right knee this time so that the sole of the right foot is planted on the earth, and we're going to cross the left ankle over the top of the right thigh. Maybe this already feels like quite a big stretch to you, in which case stay here, lovely. If you want to intensify the stretch in the left hip, we are going to lift the right foot off the floor, bringing the shin parallel to the mat, interlacing our fingers behind the back of the right thigh to come into a reclined pigeon. And breathe here. Maybe you draw that knee, the right knee, in towards the chest a little bit, and you should really start to feel the stretch down the outside of the left leg, the glute, and opening that left hip up. You can press the left elbow into the left leg to push that hip out even more. Good. Dropping the right foot back down to the floor, extend that left leg out, bringing the right knee in this time towards the chest and taking those circles one way. Again, noticing any clunky, crunchy bits. Hopefully you don't have any, but maybe I do. I've got quite dodgy hips. I've got hip dysplasia in my right hip, which is not so fun as a yogi. It's a little bit annoying, but that's what I'm working with. Change direction if you haven't already. Okay, bringing that knee back to center, bending the left knee so that the sole of the foot comes down to the ground, and now the right ankle, nearly said knee, right ankle hooks over the top of that left thigh. Again, if this is quite a lot for you, maybe this is already a deep stretch, stay here. You can push your palm into your inner thigh to open the hip out a little bit more, or you can pick that left foot up off the floor, bringing the shin parallel to the mat, linking the fingertips behind the left leg and coming into this reclined pigeon. This side feels quite different for me because of my wonky hips. So maybe you notice if you have lovely even hips, that's great. Or maybe you notice, oh, this side feels a little bit easier than the other side. Maybe it feels a little bit different. Release the legs now both down to the mat, and we're just going to roll over in a very sophisticated yogic transition. We're going to come into Sphinx, so our elbows are down on the floor underneath our shoulders, and we're going to lift our, bend the right knee so that we can draw the leg out to the side, coming into this sort of half froggy stretch. So our knee is in line with our hip, our shin is parallel to the long edge of our mat, so it's nice and straight. And we're gonna just breathe into that hip. You should feel some sensations. They might be quite intense sensations in the groin area and the front of that left hip. A little spider on me here. Okay, taking that left leg back down onto the mat, bending the right knee, lifting it up and bringing it out alongside you so that the knee should be about parallel to the hip. So we've got a nice right angle in the knee, and stay here. Coming back through into your Sphinx. Palms come down to the ground, and we're just going to push up into a tabletop position. From here, extend the right toes out behind you, extending the leg, and we're just going to lift and lower the the right leg. So lifting and lowering, lifting and lowering, lifting and lowering. Next time you're lifted, bend the right knee so that the toes point upwards, and we're going to now draw a circle with the knee. Similarly to on our backs, you don't have to force it, you can go nice and slow and really feel what's going on in the hip there. Reversing your circle, noticing how this direction might feel different to going in the other direction. Do one more, and then bring that knee back down to the ground in table. Wiggle the hips out a little bit. You might have been feeling the glute there switch on, a little bit of a burn. Extending the left toes out behind you, straightening the leg, and we'll just inhale, exhale as we lift the foot up and down, lowering and lifting the leg. I think that's what I was trying to say, but I started talking about inhaling and exhaling instead. Okay, next time you've lifted the leg, bend the left knee and start to circle. Circling the hip, drawing that circle with the knee. Change direction. Again, noticing if maybe it feels a little bit more difficult. I know I tend to start circling in my easier direction just without thinking about it. So the second direction is always more difficult. Okay, bringing that knee down to the ground. Again, wiggle those hips out, tucking the toes under, planting the palms, picking the hips up into downward dog. You can pedal the feet out here, always love to walk the dog out. First time we take a downward dog. Inhale, look forward, step the right foot through in between the hands, lowering the back knee down, and we're just going to rest here in low lunge. You can interlace the fingers over the thigh, or they can stay down on the mat to give you a little bit of extra support here. Just opening up through the front of that left hip, and breathe. From here, we are going to straighten that front leg to come into half split, and then move back into a low lunge. Inhale to pull the hips back, exhale to move into low lunge. Inhale, pull the hips back, Exhale, low lunge. One more time. Inhale, pull the hips back. Exhale, come into a low lunge. Walking the foot out towards the edge of your mat to come down into lizard. You can lift the back knee if you want to. You can also come down onto the forearms to really intensify things. Get a little bit more into that right hip as well. Wherever you are, take 2 deep breaths. Lifting up, if you had your elbows down, step back into plank and then lift the hips up to come into your downward facing dog. Inhale to look forward, stepping the left foot in between the hands, lowering the back knee and come into your low lunge. On an inhale, lift the hips up, pull them back to come into your half split. Exhale, come into your low lunge. Inhale, moving to half split. Exhaling to come into low lunge. Inhale, half split. Exhale, low lunge. Walking the toes towards the edge of the mat, coming into lizard. Maybe you just stay here, maybe you lift the back toes, maybe you come down to the forearms. Lifting up onto the palms. Now listen carefully, this might be a little bit of an awkward transition, so just try as best you can. We're going to bend that back leg, push up so that we bring the right foot up to the edge of the mat and lower the hips down into malasana, into a yogic squat. If that was a little bit out there, just meet me in a yogic squat. Maybe you've got something that you can sit your hips down on. Maybe your heels are up like this, in which case a block or a book or something underneath can help for you to bear a little bit of the weight down on. You can make this quite dynamic, moving from side to side, or you can just rest here in malasana for a couple of breaths. If your hands are in Anjali Mudra, push the elbows into the knees to try and open the hips out a little bit more. From here, we're going to place the fingertips behind us, taking a bit of our weight on our hands so that we can slowly lower our bums down to the floor. I'll turn to face you, soles of the feet come together, and we are going to take a badakanasana. So trying to let the knees be pulled down by gravity into the mat. You may see that one hip is very close to the ground and one hip is very not close to the ground. That is because I have the wonky hips. But also I am on a bit of a slope here, so that's also not helping me to look like I am at all symmetrical. I'm definitely not symmetrical. I am definitely on the wonk. So for anyone else out there who is wonky, I feel you. Hello. Hello, my sisters and brothers. Just staying here, you can flap your knees up and down a little bit, get a little bit of blood flowing. You can just be still. If you want to come forward, that is absolutely fine. The heels can be quite close to you, or they can be as far away from you as they need to be for you to be comfortable in this position. We'll just take a couple more breaths here, just letting gravity do a little bit of work for you. Opening the right leg out to the side, drawing the left foot in towards the body. We're just going to lift up with the left arm and fold over towards, we don't have to reach, towards the right foot, the right leg. Send your awareness down into that left seat bone. Feel if it's lifting off or whether it's still on the mat. Should be feeling a lovely stretch down the side of your body, down your obliques as well. We're gonna round through to come into the center of our mats now. Maybe the forearms come down, maybe you're up here. We'll just take 2 breaths in the center. Inhale to lift up, bring that right foot back in through badakanasana, extending the left leg down the mat. Maybe you need to draw that heel in towards the body a little bit more. Inhale the right arm up overhead, exhale, fold towards. Doesn't have to be perfect. There is no such thing. And just relax into this stretch here. And when I say relax into the stretch, I really do mean try and relax into this stretch. I know it can be very uncomfortable, but if you can relax your body, it really does help. It helps when you stretch. There's a whole science to it. So try and relax. Rounding through the back to come through to the center. Maybe the forearms come down. Just take a last couple of breaths here. Coming back up to the center, crossing the legs, and we'll finish in Sukhasana. Hands on the knees. Maybe you close the eyes down if you feel comfortable doing so. And we'll just take a last couple of deep breaths here together. Maybe noticing how you feel, noticing how the hips feel. Do they feel a little bit more open, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit less tight? Inhale the arms up overhead, palms meet, Exhale, draw them down towards the chest in Anjali Mudra. Inhale deeply. And exhale completely. As we bow our heads to our hands, Namaste. Thank you for joining me today. Have a wonderful rest of your day.